The launch screen, or sometimes called the home screen, is the initial screen to where the software opens. It has some of the major icons you will use on a daily basis. Some of these icons include New Return, Open Return, Return Maintenance, and Download Updates, to name a few. Right now, we will talk briefly about the options on the launch screen, and later we will take an in-depth look at the majority of these icons. The New Return option allows you to open a new return. You can open a new return by selecting the New Return icon on the launch screen, using the option under the File menu located at the top of the software, or also by hitting the shortcut keys Ctrl-N. Open Return gives you the ability to open an existing client. You can open an existing client by selecting the Open Return icon on the launch screen, using the option under the File menu, also located at the top right of the software, or by hitting the shortcut keys Ctrl-O. In User Return Maintenance, you will be able to move clients from one user to another, re-index your clients, and remove or delete returns from your software. To access the User Return Maintenance, you can select it from the launch screen. Find it under the File menu under the Utility Setup option, or by hitting the shortcut keys Ctrl-M. With just a simple click of the Update icon, you can download and apply updates to your software. The Update option can be found under the Utilities menu at the top of the software and under Internet Options. When you open the software, a prompt should appear asking if you would like to download updates. It is advised to always apply your updates to keep your software up to date. The Upload-Download feature gives you the option to share returns between computers or offices electronically. You can use this feature by selecting the option on the launch screen, or by going under the Utilities menu at the top of the software and looking under Internet Options. Selecting the Chat Support icon will send you to our Chat Support website. Here, you will be able to chat to a support representative via the web. When selecting the Email Support icon, your email will automatically open and our support email address will automatically populate in the return for you, giving you another method to contact our customer support representatives. The Screen Share Support option allows you to have screen share support offered by our customer service representatives at just a click away. Once you click on this option, our Screen Share Support site will open within your browser, and a customer service representative will be able to guide you through the rest of the process. The Research It icon allows you quicker access to the IRS website if you feel the need to do further research into an IRS or tax-related topic. With the Google It function, you can bring up Google in your browser by simply clicking on this icon. This will facilitate your ability to look up further information. The Software Registration icon allows you to register your product utilizing your customer ID and your product ID. When creating a new return, you can select the New Return icon on the launch screen, select New Return under the File menu in the top left-hand side of the software, or alternatively, you can also use shortcut keys Ctrl-N to open a new return. After selecting the New Return option, the New Return window will come up. Here, you will be able to choose the option of preparing an individual return, business return, or a fiduciary, trust, or estate. Once you select the type of return, you will need to enter basic information for the return, such as the SSN or EIN, the name of the taxpayer, business, fiduciary, trust, or estate, and the filing status, if filing an individual return. You also have the option of using the default return by selecting the checkbox at the bottom left corner of the window. For business returns, once you enter the required information on the new tax return window, the business information window will appear. From here, you can further select if it is a 1065, an 1120C, or an 1120S. Also, here you are required to enter the address for the business and the date the business was started. Similar to the business returns, when selecting the option for a fiduciary, trust, or estate return, a new window opens asking for more information. This includes the name of the estate or trust, name and title of fiduciary, address, and also the date started. Once you have entered the required information and selected OK or interview mode for individual returns, the actual return will now be available for preparation. If you select the interview mode for an individual return, the interview window will appear on your screen. This works best for simple tax returns. The first tab on the interview mode is the Personal Information tab. Here, you can select the filing status for the client. Directly under the filing status is the option to select if the taxpayer can be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return. Below these options is more basic customer information, which includes name, date of birth, phone numbers, occupation, email, and address. Once you are ready to proceed, you can simply hit Next. The second tab is the Dependent Information tab. Here, you can add, edit, or delete dependents for the current taxpayer. To create a new dependent, you can hit New and begin entering information directly below. Once you have entered all the necessary information, just hit the Save button to save the information entered. To edit a pre-existing dependent, you will need to highlight the dependent and hit the Edit button. You can then proceed to edit the appropriate information. To delete a dependent, you must first highlight the dependent, click on the Edit button, and then hit the Delete button. This will remove the dependent from the return. The third tab is the Dependent EIC Due Diligence tab. This tab will only be available if you have dependents on your return. The following tab is the Taxpayer EIC Due Diligence. Here, you will answer EIC due diligence that pertains to the taxpayer. You can go through and answer all the necessary questions. Once you have completed the page, hit Next. The W-2 tab will allow you to enter W-2 information for your client. To add a W-2, simply click the New button to begin. You can then enter all the information required into the section below. Once finished, you can hit the Save button to save all the information you have entered. To edit a pre-existing W-2, you will need to highlight a W-2 and click on the Edit button. You can then edit the information as you see fit. To delete a W-2, once again simply highlight a pre-existing W-2 and click Delete. The sixth tab is the Prepare Information tab. Here, you can enter all of your information. This will carry into the final return once it's done. To continue, hit Next. The Refund Payment Options tab allows you to select the disbursement method for the return. Here, you can select if the taxpayer is using a bank product, direct deposit, direct debit, or if he is sending or receiving a paper check. The final tab is the Filing Information tab. By answering the questions here, certain forms will auto-populate when you enter the return to continue preparation. Once you are done here, you can hit the Save button to save the return information. You also have the option to exit the return or enter input mode to continue preparing the return. On the left side of the screen, you have your Forms tree. This is where all the forms added to the return will be available. Under the Forms tree, several forms will be highlighted in different colors: gray, red, and blue. A form highlighted in gray means the form is not active. This is usually because the form has not been entirely completed. Gray forms will not be printed and will not show up under FormPeak. A form that has been highlighted in red means that the form contains an error. These errors can be found under the AEC. Usually a form with an error will prevent the e-file process. A form highlighted in blue signifies that the form is active and completed. These forms will show up when you go to print the return and under FormPeak. At the top of the screen, we have the button bar. This holds several main options available to you while preparing a return. The first button on the button bar is the Interview Mode button, which allows you to switch over to Interview Mode. We then have the Spanish button, which switches the text on the software from English to Spanish. The Save button allows you to save the return while it's still in progress. The Print button will allow you to print out the return in its entirety. The Unlock button will allow you to unlock a return. A return becomes locked after it has been e-filed. Please be aware that if you have entered information and exited the return while it was locked, the information will not be saved. You must first unlock the return prior to exiting or saving the newly added information. Close Return will allow you to close the return easily and quickly. The Calculator button will allow you to bring up an on-screen calculator to quickly and accurately make calculations. The Tax Estimator button brings up the Tax Estimator, which allows you to estimate your client's taxes for them. Clicking on Appointment Scheduler will allow you to set, edit, and schedule appointments for your clients, just to name a few of its functions. Auto Error Check will bring up a list of errors with the return, which shows missing or required data, possible causes for rejects, and which fields have been overwritten. Add Form gives you the ability to add a form into the return. Remove Form allows you to remove the form you are currently working on. Form Peek will generate a preview of the actual IRS form to the right of the forms. Once the return is ready to print, one has several options. You can click on the Print button on the button bar to quickly print the return in its entirety. You can also select the Print menu at the top of the software. Here, you have various options. You can select the Print Selected Forms option to print out only the forms you choose. After clicking on the menu option, a Print Selected Forms window will show up. Here, you can individually select the forms you would like to print. Once done, hit OK. The second option, Print Preview of Return, does the same as the Print button on the button bar. This option will allow you to print out the whole return in its entirety. The shortcut key for this option is Ctrl-P. Print Preview of Form allows you to only preview and print the current form you are on. The shortcut key for this option is Ctrl-Shift-P. Under this print menu, you can also print a blank form for the form you are currently on by selecting the Print Preview of Blank Form. Now that you have completed the return preparation, you can begin the e-filing process for the current return. To begin this process, you must first check to see that your return is e-file ready. To do this, you must bring up the AEC, the Auto Error Check. You can bring up the AEC through the e-file menu at the very top of the software, or the AEC button on the button bar. The AEC will show up at the bottom of the return as a separate portion. There are several buttons on the AEC that will allow you to cycle through the current errors within the return. The other buttons include the Reevaluate button, which allows you to run the AEC check again without having to close and reopen the AEC. The Print button will allow you to bring up the Print Selected Forms menu. The e-file button will allow you to create an e-file of the return once all the errors under the AEC have been resolved. The Close button is used to simply close the AEC. To jump to an error within the return, you can click on the Type button to the left of the AEC. This will quickly take you to where you need to make your corrections. Also, please be aware that the AEC also displays fields that you have overridden. This is so that you can keep track of your overrides. Overrides that appear on the AEC do not prevent you from e-filing. Now, once you have cleared all the errors on the AEC, You can click the e-file button to create the e-file that you will be sending to the IRS. It is advised that you make sure that the recalculate button, located at the bottom right of the screen, is green before you create the e-file. This button will change from green to red while the return is in processing. Once you have completed and reviewed the return, printed out the appropriate copies, and made sure that all the errors have been resolved and created the e-file, it is time for us to send the e-file to the filing center. Once the e-file has been created, you can now exit the return. Once you are out of the return and on the launch screen, you must then go to the top of the software to the e-file menu. Under the e-file menu, you will select the Send e-file option. From here, you will be able to highlight, select, and send the created e-file to the filing center. We will now go over how to back up and restore a return. Backing up and restoring a return will allow you to save your information to an external source to ensure your data is safe in the event of a computer crash. This will also allow you to move data from one computer to another, and it will also allow tech support to take a further look at the return if the need arises. To back up a return, you will first need to go to the File menu at the top left of the software. Here, you will move down to the Backup Return option. Also, you can use the shortcut key Ctrl-B to bring up the Backup Return option. Once the backup window is up, you can select the user for which you would like to back up from the top left of the window. When the user is selected, you can then choose which returns you would like to back up. Also, you can use the Select All option located directly under the User drop-down menu to select all the returns under the specified user. The first button at the bottom of the window is the Browse button. Clicking the Browse button will allow you to choose a different location other than the default path to back up your clients to. Once you have selected which clients you would like to back up and where you would like to back up the clients to, you can then hit the Done button. This will finalize the backup process, successfully copying your clients into a backup file that is easy to store. Now, if you would like to restore a previously backed up return, you will also need to go to the File menu at the top left of the program. From there, move down to the Restore Return option. You can also use the shortcut key Ctrl-Shift-B to use the Restore Return option. Once the Choose File window shows up, you will use the Look and drop-down menu located at the top of the window to navigate and select the location where your backup file is located. Once you have selected the location where your backup files resides, you will then highlight the backup file desired. After the file has been selected, click on the Choose File button. This will bring up the Restore window. From here, you will select the return or returns that you will like to restore. You can also check the Select All option to restore every return within the backup file. Once the files have been selected, simply hit the Done button, and this will finalize the restore process, bringing all the returns selected from the backup into your software. The User Return Maintenance will allow you to move and delete returns within the tax software. To bring up the User Return Maintenance, you can click on the Return Maintenance icon on the launch screen. You can also go to the File menu located at the top left of the software. Moving down, you can reach the Utility Setup option, and then select the User Return Maintenance. The User Return Maintenance allows you to move returns from one user to another. Please note that only the admin user can move clients from user to user. To move a return from user to user, you must first select the user from which you would like to move the return from. This can be found on the top left of the window under the User's drop-down menu. From here, you can select the correct user. After, you must choose one or more of the returns displayed on the right. By default, this is set to the 1040 tab. You can change tabs to the desired tax module to move a different type of return. Once you have selected the return, or returns to be moved, you will go to the section at the bottom left of the screen titled Move to User. Here, you will select the user you would like to move the return or returns to. Once you have selected the user, you will then hit the Move File button. This will effectively move the return or returns over to the new user. The User Return Maintenance also allows you to delete a return. Please be aware that once a return has been deleted, it cannot be recovered unless you have previously backed up a copy of that return. Once again, similar to moving a return, the default tab is the 1040 tab. You can switch over to a different tax module at any time. After you have selected the correct tab, you will then select the return to be deleted on the right side. Now that the return has been selected, you will need to hit the Delete File button on the bottom left of the User Return Maintenance window. A small prompt will be displayed allowing you to confirm the deletion of the return. You have now successfully deleted a return from the software. Security Setup can be found under the Utilities menu at the very top of the software. The Security Setup will allow you to create and edit new users, set up passwords, and create new user groups as well as edit the permissions for those groups. Groups are what set boundaries and permissions for certain users. To create a new group, simply click the New Group button located at the bottom of the Security Setup window. The Groups window should have shown up. Here, you will enter the group name. You can also enter a description for the group, though it is not mandatory. Once the information has been entered, hit OK. Now once back in the Security Setup window, you can begin to select the permissions for this particular group. In the center of the window, you will find the Permissions section. Here you can select if this group can create or open a new return, backup or restore returns, or send e-files, just to name a few of these permissions. Once you have selected the desired permissions, hit the Save button to save your selections. After, you can close out of the confirmation window. To edit the permissions or delete a different group, you must first select the group from under the Available Groups drop-down menu near the top left of the window. Once the group has been selected, you can then alter the permissions as you see fit. If you wish to delete the selected group, you will need to click on the Delete Group button. After confirming the deletion, the group will be permanently removed from the group list. The second tab under the Security Setup window is the User Configuration tab. Here is where you can create, edit, or delete users. To create a new user, you can hit the New User button at the bottom of the window. This will bring up the Users window. Here, you can enter the user's name and the password. Keep in mind that the password field can be left blank. This will not require a user to enter a password to log into his account. After, select that the user is active to allow the user to use his new created account. Once a username and password has been selected, a security question and an answer must also be entered. This is so that in the event that the user cannot remember his password, the user can effortlessly recover the forgotten password. Please note that the Forgot Password option can only be used from the initial logon screen. Now that the security question and answer have been set up, we can move on. The next section will want you to enter the address and phone number of the user. This is completely optional. At the bottom of the window, you will find the Groups Available area. Here, you will select the group that the user will belong to. Once again, this will determine the user's boundaries and capabilities. Now that the user has been completely set up, you can click on the OK button to finalize the user creation. To modify an already existing user, you will highlight the user you would like to edit. Once the user has been highlighted, you will then proceed to click on the Modify User button located at the bottom of the window to the right of the New User button. This will bring up the Users window once again, allowing you to edit any aspect of the user except for the name. You can change password, security questions and answers, or the group to which the user belongs to. To save your changes, hit OK. To delete a user, you can highlight the user that needs to be removed and simply click on the Delete User button located at the bottom of the screen as well. You will then be asked to confirm that you want to delete the user. Please note that if you delete the user, the returns created by that user will also be deleted. If you would like to change users while within the software, you can find the Change User option under the File menu located at the top left of the screen. You can also use the shortcuts Ctrl-U to bring up the Change Users menu. The default return can be found under the Utilities menu at the top of the software. After dropping down, you will find the Edit Default Return option. From there, you can select your desired tax module. The Edit Default Return feature allows you to set defaults for newly created returns. Here, you can set certain fields that you know will be a constant throughout the tax season. Some examples are your ERO PIN, the option that states that you will file your return electronically, or your prepare information. Once the default return comes up, you can begin to enter the default information. This information will be generated automatically on all your newly created returns. You can also add common forms that you use. This will automatically add the forms to the return. Once you have entered all the necessary default information, you can then save the default return just as you would a regular return by hitting the Save button on the button bar. This will effectively save all your default information. You can then close out the default return. A prompt will then show up asking you if you would like to update all of your existing returns with the new preparer information. Also, please note that you are giving the option when creating a new return to not use the default return in the creation. The Preparer menu can be found under the Utilities menu. From here, you can add preparers to the software. Once you select the Preparer menu, the Preparer Info window will come up. From here, you can create and edit the tax preparers within the software. To add a new preparer, you can click on the New button located on the right side of the window. You can then proceed to enter the information as necessary. Your Preparer ID is a user-selected ID that identifies you within the software. Once that has been entered, you can then input your name and your SSN or PTIN number. Once that info has been entered, you can then enter your firm name and address. You can then enter your EIN, telephone number, and fax number. Once you have entered all the required information, you can then hit the Save button. This will gray out all the fields and effectively save the new preparer information you have entered. To edit a previously existing preparer, you will need to highlight said preparer and then click the Edit button located on the right side of the screen. Once you have edited the desired information, simply click on the Save button to save the newly entered information. The Auto Backup utility is a feature that automatically creates a backup of all your returns whenever you close out the software. To set up the Auto Backup, go to the Utilities menu at the top of the software and drop down to the Auto Backup option. This will bring up the initial configuration for Auto Backup. You can then hit the On option under the Setup Auto Backup On-Off section. After, you will select the location for the Auto Backup by clicking on the Browse button, which is the button with the 3 dots to the right of the Set Auto Backup File Location section. Once you have turned the Auto Backup feature on and selected an appropriate location for the backup to be created, you can then click on the OK button to save the information and start the Auto Backup. Please take note and remember that the Auto Backup feature only creates an Auto Backup when the software is closed out. The Tax Estimator will allow you to estimate a new or existing customer's tax for the upcoming year. The Tax Estimator can be found at the top of the software on the button bar or under the Utilities menu on the very top of the window. Once open, you can enter customer information such as personal information, which includes filing status, taxpayers and spouses' date of birth, the option to select if they are blind, and also the option to select if they can be claimed on somebody else's return. The dependent information includes the total number of students, and number of disabled dependents for various age groups. Income estimates are for wages, salaries, tips, interest and dividends, business income, and capital gain and losses, just to name a few. Adjustment details are for adjustments to income, such as moving expenses, HSA deductions, 1/2 of employment tax, and student loan interest. The deductions and exemptions section is mostly automatically calculated. You have the option to enter itemized deductions, the number of exemptions, and also more deductions. For the most part, the tax calculation area is automatically calculated, with the exception of the household employee tax, advanced earned income credit, and other taxes which you can manually enter. The tax credits portion includes a few of the credits that a taxpayer can get, such as the foreign tax credit, child independent care credit, the education credit, and the child tax credit, just to name a few. The payments and final status, tax due and refund portion are the last two sections of a tax estimator. The payment section will allow the user to input the federal tax withheld, the estimated tax payments, and two refundable credits like the AAC and the additional child tax credit. Final status will show an estimate of the amount due or refund amount. Finally, the tax estimator will allow you to export clients' information into an actual return by selecting the Create Return button in the Final Status section. You can also erase the information in the tax estimator by clicking on Reset. The appointment scheduler will allow the user to enter appointment information for existing clients as well as new clients. The appointment scheduler can be found at the top of the software on the button bar. Once open, you can begin to enter appointments. You can add an appointment for the current date by selecting the File menu, dropping down to New, and then Select Appointment. You can set appointments for future dates by double-clicking on the date on one of the calendars. Once you have selected the desired date, you can then choose the client that you will have the appointment with. You must then enter the rest of the required information. If the client you wish to select is not present, you may create the client within the appointment scheduler. To create a new client, you can go to the File menu at the top left of the window, drop down to New, and select Client. Once New Client Details section appears, you can begin to enter client information. When done, simply click Accept. Also, if your client is not present within the appointment scheduler, but has already been created as a tax return within the original software, you can click on the File menu and select Import Client from Tax Program. This will effectively bring all the clients present within the tax return. Once the appointment has been set up, the date on the calendar will turn green, signifying that an appointment has been entered for that day. To bring up a list of clients within the appointment scheduler, you can go to the Go To menu at the top of the software and drop down to Client List. Here, you can see which clients are already within the appointment scheduler and which clients need to be added. You can also see a list of appointments set for the current day by going back to the Go To menu at the top of the software and clicking on Today. This will bring up a list of any appointments that have been set for the current day. The After the Fact Payroll feature allows you to take care of the end of the year payroll. You can do this by creating W-2s, 1099s, 941s, and W-3s, just to name a few. You can find the after-the-fact payroll near the top of the software on the button bar. Once the after-the-fact payroll is open, you can begin to enter information on the company for which you will create the documents for. Once in, you will need to enter required information, such as the company's EIN, name, street address, SIP, city, and state. When done, click the Save button to save the company's information. You can then select and double-click on the company to begin the form preparation. To create a 1099 or a W-2, you can hit the Create W-2 1099 button. This will bring up the after-the-fact payroll employee window. Here, you would need to create a profile for each employee for whom you will create a W-2 or 1099. You can do this by entering the required information, the employee's SSN, first and last name, street address, city, state, and SIP, and phone number. Once done, hit the Save button. After saving and highlighting the desired client, you can click on Create to bring up the form selection window. Now you can begin the creation of the W-2 or 1099-M document. If you select W-2, you must then enter the appropriate information such as wages, federal income tax withheld, and state wages. To override a field, you can hit the F11 key. To clear an override, you can press F7. If you select the 1099, you must then enter rents, royalties, other income, and any other applicable information as well. Once again, to override, you can press F11, and to clear the override, you can press F7. From the main after-the-fact payroll window, you can create a 940, 941, 944, W-3, or a 1096. You must first highlight and double-click the desired company for whom you wish to create these forms for. After doing so, you can then hit the Create button to bring up the form selection window. From here, you can select any of the desired forms, simply highlight said form, and double-click or hit the Add Show button. Then you can begin to fill the form out with the appropriate information. Also, once you are done with each form, remember to hit the Save button to save the information you have entered. To delete a company you have entered, you would need to highlight and double-click on the company you wish to eliminate. Once you have selected the company, you will then need to hit the Delete button. A window will appear asking you to confirm the deletion and advising you that deleting the client will remove all related information. Hit Yes to confirm the deletion. To delete just a specific form, highlight and select the company for whom which the form has been created, then click Delete Forms button. This will bring up the Delete Forms window. Once here, you can select the form you wish to delete and hit the Delete button. a window will once again appear asking you to confirm the deletion. Hit Yes to complete the deletion. The software has a variety of reports that you are able to print out to keep for your records. To bring up the reports, you can go to the top of the software where it says Reports and click on the Reports option directly under that. This will bring up the Reports window. From here, you will expand the Reports menu by clicking on the plus sign to the left of the reports. Then you can select if you want to generate reports for your clients. Once you expand Client, you can then select one of the many reports available to be printed. Now that you have highlighted and selected one of the reports, to the right you will see that you can choose to omit certain information from that report to further customize the report as you see fit. Now that you have chosen your report and the information present, you will hit the Generate button down at the bottom of the right of the screen. This will bring up all the clients that are present within the software to be printed in the reports. Afterwards, you can hit the Print button to show the report as a PDF. From here, you now have the option to save or print the PDF to keep for your records. You can also print out several reports for the different tax modules. To select a different tax module, you can click on the Package drop-down menu and select the module you would like to print the reports for. You can also change the user for whose clients you would like to print reports out for. This can be done by clicking on the User drop-down menu and selecting a different user.